every day you will see a little black child, a black boy or a black girl get killed. It hurts. Why? I'm a parent. No mother and father want to really bury their child. If a child dies accidentally or, causes of a disease, then that hurts as well. But when you know a black child has been gunned up, that hurt. And like you said before, youth period. Yes, it's youth period, but how many white children get stabbed? How many Jews get stabbed? And how many Chinese get stabbed? It's our black children is hurting each and every day. So we have to take more steps as a group of people in a multi society. Look after our children more. Not the bribery, but love. Because sometimes a hug around a child and whispering he or she ears, I love you, can do a lot for a child. More than buying them a jeans or a Timberline or a game. It's a simple thing. Simple thing. Love.
The government has implemented laws upon laws stating we shouldn't discipline our children. And yet, when our children are out of control, the blame is pushed back to us that we fail to control our children.
With no respect for society, mother and father, their relationship is not very good. Most homes we go today is fighting and quarreling and swearing.
Young people are led to believe that do as they please. Parents fail to discipline their children. What I'm sad about is, as a black woman with 3 girls, it's very difficult for me sometimes to ensure that my children understand the importance of respect. And sometimes they tend to compare me with their friends' mother, saying I'm too strict. But how do I ensure that they follow, they listen, without being influenced by their peers?
Actually, you can't blame it on the youth because you have to look at certain circumstances. Whereas they haven't got any youth centre anymore. Most of the youth centre is being closed down for big properties or church activities. Whereas in my days, we used to have certain centres. As soon as we leave school, we used to have youth centres. Places that we can go and play a game of pool, dominoes, etc., etc. Now, these little youth, they don't have anything at all. Once they leave school, they're on the street. This is why you find most of the young girls are having babies. Next thing you know, the government give them a flat, and everything just go haywire.
We have also surrendered the whole area of discipline. And this discipline began in the home, but as you know, West Indians and people from the third world, Africans, we tend to discipline our children in a much more strict way. The laws of the land prevent this kind of discipline. I'm not saying we should beat and kill our children, nor abuse them, nor damage them, but we cannot, in many ways, discipline the children the way we want to. And so when we have to submit to government rules, which frightens parents from disciplining children, it means children can simply say to their parents, if you do this to me, I'll take you to the police, I'll take you to the social authorities, I will do this to you. And so we have surrendered discipline, we have given up, and we've gone to accept what are the laws of the land. And in so doing, we've opened a floodgate, and we're paying for it very dearly in the streets.
Where do you stand as a parent?
What's lacking in most children's lives are the right role models. I think basically, especially with boys, they're looking for a role model, someone to look up to, someone to respect, someone to be like. And I think those role models, they're not around. They are there, but they're not being seen. And I think obviously now there's a big problem with father figures not being around. I mean, myself, I grew up without my father. I didn't really know my father. And looking back now, especially since I've become a Christian, God has shown me, I think it really influenced how I was, my relationship with my mum and how I was in life. I was quite an insecure person, never quite at peace with myself. And so I looked to the wrong role models to try and get accepted, to be part of something. And I mean, I was never really doing things that are sort of making the headlines, but I was led astray. And yeah, peer pressure was just following the wrong routes, and really I was needing someone in my life to tell me what was right and what was wrong. And I look back on it now and I think a father figure, a stable father figure in a home would have probably changed things a lot.
A pupil of 15 recently became a fatal victim of gang-related gun crime of young people in Camberwell. They are affected by the South London's Brixton versus Peckham gang conflict. Another assault involving knives was on 3rd of May when a 16 and a 17-year-old boy have been charged with the murder. A 33-year-old man was shot whilst holding a relative's baby girl when attempted robbers raided a christening on the Wooddean Block Acorn estate. A father of 3 has been said to have asked a group in a perfectly pleasant way to extinguish their cigarettes on a social club's premises. He died 4 days after a shooting which happened 3 weeks after the smoking ban began in England. The Met Police studies state there were 266 gun crimes and 5 homicides in Southwark in the 12 months up to December 2006. And in neighbouring Lambeth there were 239 gun crimes and 15 killings over the same period.
I think kids are losing their innocence. You have young girls dressing up as if they're 18. They're going out, when they're 13, 14. So they're losing their innocence. They start sleeping around at 14, 15. And by 17, they may have had a miscarriage and abortion. And then by the time they're 20s, they're dealing with all that guilt and the innocence is lost.
We grew up in Jamaica where we have to go to school every morning and give God thanks and show love, and we show more respect for our teacher, respect for other students, other pupils, because we have a love of God and we're covered under His blood as well.
I've come from a very well brought up village in Surrey actually, and I'm extremely shocked to hear everything that goes on, especially around London areas. It's a shame that so many children get involved with a lot of crime. It's very, very, very interesting to see actually how much is going on. And I think maybe a lot more support needs to be involved so that kids will have the opportunities to realise what's right and wrong and get out of situations they may not be capable of doing on their own.
It can be gangster rap, it could be whatever it is, but if you're going to bed at night listening to that kind of music, which is having a real negative, it's negative music, it's aggressive music, you're sleeping with that with your headphones on, you're playing these computer games that glorifying killing and stabbings and Grand Theft Auto and stuff like that. And then you wake up in the morning and you're going to school, and then you've got a school teacher wearing a shirt and tie, and he tells you to put your feet off the table, and stuff like that, or to stop chewing your gum. There's no connection. The kid's going to be like, and what? And I don't know. I think it's sort of spiraling out of control. And
my family upbringing, I wouldn't say was necessarily strict, but there was quite a few morals and lessons that we all were taught in life. And the community around the village that I lived in, they're all on a very friendly basis with police, with community officers, anyone that sort of provides that sort of service. And I think that maybe children have a bit more respect on that level because they get to know them as a person rather than just the job that they're trying to do.
Law, that's strict enough on the kids them of today. Why? Because, of course, they will go down the street and they have neither respect for the police, they will serve the police, things like those. In our days, we respect the law. And when you respect the law, we don't do anything outside the law. Because we know that freedom is a wonderful thing. When you have freedom, I think you are very free indeed. You don't have to watch nobody looking over your shoulder.
When you're in such a tight village, it's such a tight community, you don't expect those sort of things to happen. A lot of the time, children are more likely to go against the law, more so with drug abuse and alcohol abuse and vandalism, not so much the crime that you get in London. Yeah, but that's more of the sort of crime you'll get from an area I've come from, because it's almost like it's a rebel, like they haven't got the chance to do things. So it's almost anything else they can find to do, that's what they're going to do.
In Western countries, children or people that still not get the age of 18 are quite independent compared to the Asia country. So I don't believe they get enough communication between parents and children. So actually what is going on in children's mind, parents don't know, or they know quite a little. For example, in Asia, we talk to parents every day and with quite freely way, and they would give us suggestions about certain things, and they know what's going on in our mind. If there's something wrong, they would point that out in a very earlier age. But here, I think probably children are quite dependent, and they have their own idea, and they take actions without letting their parents know. So their parents won't know if their children are on track or not.
If your parents let you just go off and do something else, and they're not really talking to you or spending time with you, then you can just get up to different stuff. You can get up to things that you probably wouldn't if your parents were with you. And if you spend time with your parents obviously going to teach you about being good.
This is what I feel is important for me. It's not necessarily important for anybody else. What did you learn today? What did you do today? What was your favourite subject? What happened today? I ask them every single day. And they're fed up, but I think it's important that you have that dialogue with your children. If you don't ask, how do you know what they're struggling with? How do you know if actually they've had a really bad day and they just need time to talk about it? Allowing that time. And I think that, for so many children, the TV is their only friend, or the DVD, or the iPod, or whatever it is.
Sometimes it's not easy for us teenagers because we have our mums, or just mums, or mums and dads, just no time. They have no time for us, and we sometimes feel left out, and so we join different groups, gangs.
If you don't have a strong relationship with your parents, then you can kind of drift apart from them.
When I move them out of them parents' home at 16 and put them in a hostel, it's like them a practice them for jail cell. Because when them in a hostel where them not have no parents, they do as they like. They no guideline. And they on the road, them can't get involved in anything. Their friend come round, and sometimes their friend in there, you find one come up with the idea to do something wrong. And because no big people not there around, nobody not there to say, well, no, that's wrong. And then they say, do him not want to be the one for single out, say, I'm not doing that because they're going to send me a chicken. I want to say, oh yeah, come on then, let's do it. And you find, say, right there, so one thing lead to another. Then them end up at prison, come back out, can't get no job, end up back at prison. I think it's so wrong. You know what I mean? And to me, the government is to blame the system. The system set up to mess up our youth. And I would like all the parents, especially the male black parents then, especially man that we are grown and have kids here, there and everywhere for looking at themselves. You know what I mean? The kids need love.
The government has implemented laws upon laws stating we shouldn't discipline our children. And yet, when our children are out of control, the blame is pushed back to us that we fail to control our children.
The education starts from the home. If you don't educate the youth about certain things and be wise about it, then they're gonna prey on others to lead them into destruction.
From a young age, there's the peer pressure about being accepted, and if you don't feel secure in yourself, if you don't have that secure, again, it goes back to the home. If you're not secure in who you are and who your parents are and the love they have for you, if you don't have that love, then you're going to just be seeking approval and acceptance from other kids. And if you have a father who loves you and says to you, don't do this, I'm telling you because I love you, don't do this and that, then they can be strong at school and they can say, I don't need to join these games, I don't need to be afraid of these people or ashamed of who I am.
More parents need to take authority over their children. They need to give more to their children in supporting and help. They need to stand up to their children, not being bullied or ignorant and slap them. Slapping and beating children are not helping them. It's sit down, talk with them, encourage them, challenge them. Because too many young children are getting away with so many things.
I can remember my father. My father was at the time 70 years old, and he was getting off the bus and he was mugged. He was mugged by a group of 4 or 5 young black boys. And when I was growing up, children would, intimidate and try and get money off each other, but they wouldn't. An older person from that particular generation or that particular background, there'd be a sort of respect. And I think that's changed quite a bit because the respect isn't there. The whole respect, the whole government agenda about values and society and being taught about Britishness, whatever that is. If you don't feel part of a system or part of a culture, a society, then you're kind of just drifting. And so maybe within gangs there is that unity, there's something that ties you in, there's a bond that perhaps others might not be feeling.
I mean, as far as I'm concerned about gangs, it's one trying to be a leader, and you find the rest will follow because they're looking for that stronghold. Again, mugging and robbing old people, I resent all these things. That's totally bad. How can you see a defenseless old woman and try to mug her? Again, I think it all starts from the home. Teenagers killing each other, material things. This is all stemmed from the drugs that they're smoking. And they have to look at these things. These things are chemicals. These are chemicals, what they're smoking. They don't realize what is really happening. But once this thing goes into your brain, it's totally control your mind. And once something controls your mind concept, then obviously, you're liable to do anything.
It's sort of spiraling out of control, and I read up what the media are trying to do, the things they're trying to do to stop these sort of things, but I think it's a spiritual thing as well.
What the old generation's expectation of them, they probably will be very selfish if they thought they only live their own life, but they need to contribute to the society and to the country. Also, in China, for example, we have very heavy work study load, so everybody's concentrates on their scores, grade at school, and they talk more about the knowledge they learned and kind of very interesting stuff. But here, as far as I know, people don't have too much work, homework or study as they do in China, so they spend quite a lot of free time doing things that they are interested in, which is good, but if they are not on the right track, that could be really dangerous.
I've been here in this community for over 8 years, and during this time I've had the opportunity to be involved with many efforts in reaching our youth on the streets. One of the first efforts was to work in a ministry that would be involved in going to the streets about 2 o'clock in the morning and trying to minister to many young people who came out to clubs. The idea was just to offer them some tea and coffee and something to refresh them so they will get home safely. And in doing so, we realized that here in Peckham, there are so many young people looking for some connect to do something with their time. And Friday and Saturday evenings, if you were to come to the high street here in Peckham, you would be amazed how busy it was. It sometimes is as busy as during the rush hour. However, we have also witnessed escalation in the whole area of gangs to do with knives and guns and immorality and just the party spirit. And for those of you who know Peckham, by the time you mention Peckham, people just would give a sense that this is the worst place on earth. It isn't. We have seen a turnaround in many, many areas. And before we get to this turnaround, let me just speak to some of the issues I think are some of the causes that impact our youth. First of all, it's easy to blame our youth and say that they are just terrible and that they need discipline and everything. But I think that we have to begin where it starts, and that is in our family unit. Our family units here in this nation called United Kingdom, these units have cracked up. Parents are indeed under great pressure. Some are single parents, and we're not saying that it's their fault. Some are parents who are trying to hold on 2 or 3 jobs to make ends meet. But there is a sense that the young people today are in need of a community. And the community used to be the family. And once that community of the family has started to disintegrate and to fragment, then the only community that they see as relevant and meeting their needs is the community of the gang culture. Because what they're looking for in the gang is what they have missed from the family. And I must say that the church also too used to offer this community, but we ourselves in the church, for some reason, we don't do it as we used to do. We have been distracted. And so a lot of our young people go into the gang culture because it's a secure place for them. It's a place of identity. It's a place of belonging. It's a place where they find that they are accepted and they have a life of what for them, which is very normal. But it also gives them a sense that they can be protected and they have a very, very great feeling that they belong to this unit. And that brings loyalty, but that also brings a kind of adherence to the rules. They obey without questioning. And that's why some of them in initiation rites and in revenge rites, they would have issues of killing, incidents of killing and stabbing and all sorts of other things. So I think that the breakdown of the family as a unit has caused great problem.
If you do something wrong, like if you doing things like get pregnant in earlier age, or you have boyfriend in very earlier age, it is a shame of your family as well. So if you don't have your parents in mind, you could do this kind of thing. Mm-hmm. This is what we believe. If you don't have your parents in mind, you could break rules and doing something that being selfish. Mm-hmm. But here, it won't like that. Yeah, parents will be separate from what the children is. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's culture difference.
Most parents start teaching them children when they are 10 years old. Not from birth to 5, but most of the time I see parents are walking with children. And then we just walk in and say, and don't direct them children to say good afternoon or good morning or good evening.
Society have given them such a wide view that they believe that they can do whatever they want to do. And children are saying to parents, if you hit me, I'm going to report you to the police. And neighbors are saying you can't talk to the child like that. But there are parents who are trying to grow their children the right way and to support them to the best of their ability. But because of what they're picking up in school, even in the nursery, different places, that children can say things to their parents and think that they're right when they are not. And because society is not helping the parents as they are to, because as soon as I said you say something to a child, I'm going to tell my nan, I'm going to tell my uncle, I'm going to tell this and I'm going to tell that. And before you know, simple things that parents may do or say to the children, not because they hate them, because they want them to grow in the right and proper way, it's taken out of proportion. And because of that, there's a big struggling, there's a big fighting. What a 4-year-old child know now is not that a 4-year-old 10 years ago didn't know it, but they didn't have this freedom of attitude and behavior that they're having now. So you actually have to say society has given children now, a lot of children, not everyone, they have a loop way that they can talk to their parents anyhow, they can do what they please, they can go wherever they want to go. As I said, 20, 30 years ago, a child at the age of 5 or 6, 6 o'clock in the evening, they would be home, getting ready for bed, doing some reading or something, having fellowship with the parents, and getting that close relationship, feedback from the parents and children. Now, a lot of them, that age group, they're on the street until 9 o'clock sometimes at night. These little children are out on the street. Some of the parents I know work very hard and they work very late. Some of them work 9, shift change because of different areas. So they don't spend that quality time that they want to spend with the children. And that's where some of them are losing out. And it's all sort of things that are going, it's like a whole new world is opening up out there for these children. Gone be the days. Even now, you find so many young people still interested in going to university, still interested in having a better academic quality of life. But where does society comes in, and how many people are challenging the children and challenging the young people of making a quality of life, a good quality of life for themselves.
One of the things that we need to do is have good role models. Many of the role models show that their lifestyle is made up of quick money, material things, but there's not a center of character being built. So role models are very important. And once again, we have to go back to the home. If the father or mother or the single parent or the uncle or the community, if neither of these are providing role models, then the only role models that our young people would have would be the kinds that are negative, although appearing prosperous, they are negative as far as character building. I think another thing that they need to have is the whole area of hope. And hope will come if we provide opportunities, if we provide perspectives where the young people can say, well, I can afford to study because there is waiting for me. The younger can say, I can delay getting myself involved in promiscuity and giving up my virginity because I have a bright future ahead of me. And so we need to provide these kinds of avenues of hope. Like, for instance, we could say to start an exchange program where kids who are doing well, if you achieve this, well, you get a trip to go overseas to America or some other country and continue your work and do some research, or even in some cases, take a holiday. And the reason why this, if you notice, this whole thing of gap year is something that many young people use because they have worked so hard, they need a reward. And I say, if you can now bring this into the system as a part of their education, and they will say, if you do certain things, then this is your reward as you move through life.
You know, see, a lot of black role model elder on the road, I stop and reason with the youth, them one-to-one, and them see them do certain thing. Everybody just hold them straight and pass. You know what I mean? And sometimes when I say to people, them say, oh, them don't want to you know, body stab them up and things like that. But quite a few times me stop as a mother. And the way I approach them and reason with them, you know what I mean, it turned out that everybody leave in a peace and quiet and, you know, feel different and even apologize, you know, to one another. And sometimes I really like to see more of that in the community, because there's a saying, say, take a village to raise a child. But then again, everybody look on bills and worries and everything, and nobody not put nothing in the community, and the kids them know that as well. So then just do as them please.
What has happened in our communities, and I could speak for West Indians, and I hope to a point to speak also to for some of the African diaspora, is that our parents came and they were locked in to serving God in a very genuine way. The Bible was the center and authority for their belief and behavior. However, the generation of today, they have turned their backs on the church because they didn't have to face some of the struggles that their parents faced. And in so doing, they didn't have to depend upon God to help them. And because we've lost our spiritual compass, we are paying a high price. I use the word spiritual to specifically mean the Holy Spirit, not the kind of spirituality that's out there, where human effort and human understanding and the whole things of setting up our own gods is classified as spiritual. I think that we have to be careful that the word spiritual, as I use it, is understood to mean the Holy Spirit working in a person to the true and living God, because God says He is a spirit, and if we worship Him, we must worship Him in spirit and truth. So I would say that these are some of the solutions I see. When societies are being fragmented, the attack always are for the young boys and young men. Pharaoh did it in the time of Moses. Herod did it in the time of Christ. When Nebuchadnezzar, under the Babylonian, conquered Judah, they took away the young men to train them. And so the precedent is still the same today. If you want to destroy a nation, you destroy the young men, because they are the hope and the future of tomorrow. And so, whatever we may want to say, we are paying a very high price. When I was growing up, we used to hear a story about the Pied Piper. And the Pied Piper told us a very fascinating story, which brings parallels to us today. You remember there was this, if I remember the story well, it's many years, there was this city that was suffering from a lot of rats, vermin, maybe just like London, and they couldn't solve the solution. And then they hired this man and told him if he came and got rid of the rats, he would be well paid, and he did that. And when it was time coming to pay the piper, they refused. And so he started one day and he blew a tune, and in blowing the tune, he took away all the young people. And today, I think that's what's happening to us. We have made a pact, but we have failed to pay the right price. And as adults, we have to be the first ones, whether we repent, whether we admit that we have been wrong, and start to address the problem. Although it may seem feeble, I think if the young people hear us say to them, we are sorry and we need to work with you more, I think we begin the right way.
We run a supplementary school called Black Boys Camp. Coventry is a franchise and a part of what's going on. And some of what we are doing is raising the academic and social aspiration and achievement of Black children, boys in Coventry. And we are saying to these boys that you can do better, you can achieve. There's a lot of young people, not just boys, but girls as well, who are bright. They have got the ability of doing well. They can achieve. But as I said, society has opened a world, and because all the parents are not the same, then you find that some of those children get no family training, no background. Nobody is saying, oh, work a bit harder in school. Nobody is saying you can achieve this or you can achieve that. Nobody is saying that to them. And at the end of the day, the real support and challenge that should be going across to them, they are not having it because there's nobody out there to give them. Nobody out there to say, you can do this or you can do that.
Recently, some of the CBBC children were featured in the local media news, giving their views about education and the need for coursework. Also, some were asked this question: who am I? Why do I think I am on the earth? Where do I come from? And what can I do and where I am going? These were some of their reply.
A brainy boy, good looking and a loving person. I believe I'll be a lawyer and earn my own business. I am here on earth to fulfill God's lifelong goal. I am eventually going to move to the USA, become an actor and fulfill my lifelong goal. I like sport, football, basketball and cricket. I want to be a footballer when I grow up, and I'm training so I can be. I can play basketball and football, and also I can do press-ups, and I'm the fastest in my school at running. I'm going back to Barbados to buy a house with my future girlfriend, wife. Yes, I am a good kid because I am a trustworthy kid. I love football. I want to be a policeman when I grow up. I was born in England. I can play tennis. In my future, I will have a nice future. Not only I'm watching football, even though I play rugby for a Sunday team. My position is hooker. I support Coventry City and Manchester United team. And I don't think much of Chelsea's football team. My school told me I should go to CBBC because it might improve my behaviour in classes also, so I can get higher grades, and I would like that.
Sister Daly giving her views on what she would like to do to help the young people fulfilling their dreams.
If I had money, I would like to have a big mansion. And there's a lot of children that I've seen in Byron in Black Boys Camp, knowing that they can do better at an early age. I would love to have them living with me, living in this big mansion, getting other people in to help me to support them so that they have a better academic quality education. I believe that when the children are bright, our child is bright, we start at an age where we help them and support them. And I believe that if society, if the government, if the education department was giving more help and support to many of these young children, whether they are white or black or mixed race, if they were getting that encouragement and that challenge, I still believe that a lot of young people who end up in prison, end up in jail, end up with drugs, drinks, alcohol problem and all that, they wouldn't have if they did just have somebody to point them in the right direction. And this is what I would love to see happening, not just in Coventry, but all over the world. Seeing these children, knowing that they've got the ability, they know how to be better. I would love to see them do that. I still believe it's not too late, although we have lost a lot of them, our parents, grandparents, aunties, uncles, who see these children, their family, to really encourage them and challenge them to say, you can do better. There's more to life than boyfriend and girlfriends. There's more to life than drinking and smoking. But it's just that with their working hard and study and achieve a good academic qualification, they will say to the society, they will say to the community, I don't have to go down the road that Tom and John is going down, or Mary and Sue, but I can achieve for myself, I can better myself, and in so doing, we would have a better world, a better community, a better town, and a better society to live with every time. Sum it up all. there is better yet for these young people and children than what's been offered to them today.
The key is early intervention, early support, but also just having people being able to listen, not even to talk, just to listen. Sometimes it's not about finding solutions, but it's about being able to voice some of the fears and frustrations you have, but also just being aware that actually, I know Joe Bloggs isn't going to find an answer to my problem, but I know what, he'll always listen. That might just be something that they need.
Thank you very much. All the very best.
If you want to change, you can change, because you might be scared
to be able to have goals that we should reach, that we should focus on. We shouldn't think bad about ourselves. We should think high.
Let the children know what their responsibility as individuals in the country and also as part of the family and the society, and they need to work more or work harder on their homework, on their study. So I think that's 2 points that I want to raise. The first one is the parents should involve more and increase the communication between parents and children. And second one is the overall education system could help.
The solutions, I would say, are multifaceted. That means you just can't have one solution to solve it. One is we have to have credibility with the young people. But credibility without proximity doesn't work. People can see us as able adults, people can see us as trustworthy adults, but then how do we get close to them? And that is what is the difficulty, because we are coming from the outside. We can be perceived as either adults out of touch, we can be perceived as spies, and we can be perceived as just disciplinarians and trying to moralize on them. So the challenge that we now face is how to get credibility and how to have proximity. I think those two form the two cornerstones of all the other things that we need to do.
I hope that young people and parents, we can take the responsibility to ensure that our children understand. They need to understand that they're the future. And when we become stagnated with negativity, it's very difficult to eradicate it later on. Because when you're nurtured to believe that the wrong or lack of respect is the norm, believe me, it's a very, very difficult situation to get rid of later on.
We need more facilities such as free swimming pools, free gyms for the little children, and that's when they leave school, they can freely go to a gym, where them go practicing football, whatever. But they will have somewhere to go, like if you go to France, a kid can leave school and go straight into a place and play some football. If you go to Germany, you'll find kids can leave school and go straight to the swimming pool and have a swim. If a youth leaves school here, he have to pay to go into have a swim. And maybe he is gold medalist tomorrow. So if the government in the sporting body want to help the youth, then let the facilities for the sporting be free. That children will have more activity to do in it. It's not that them can't run, but them have to pay for go inside where them can do like a track and field. You see, so everything our youth have to do, they have to pay. You know, and that's a good thing. Other countries do it in Europe, so we can do it as well.
We too in the community, we need to provide outlets so that our young people can be wonderfully employed and playing in safe communities.
If there are more like youth clubs and things that people can enjoy, if there's something to do, you wouldn't need to be on the streets and just like making trouble.
Job opportunity. The solution has to start at home. It has to start with the standards that the parents are setting the children. For me, you have to create a safe, happy, constructive home in which there are very well established boundaries and expectations and aspirations put upon children, so that children know very clearly outside of the home the boundaries and expectations that is expected of them. And children need to know that there is ambition for them, that there are aspirations for them, there are a lot more to be expected from them, that there are higher goals that they can achieve other than causing, shall we say, to assist other people's lives.
Have more youth clubs, music, more youth facilities, like how you go at football or going to trips, foot park, whatever. Starting to just make them busy so they can get off the roads. Because if they're not doing that, they're going to end up doing knife crime, robberies, drugs, whatever.
They should try and think about what the children would like and their participation.
If the parents put enough effort into bringing up their kids in a decent, proper way from an early age, then I think this is part of the solution, or probably this is 50% of the solution.
The way they dress, the way they walk, the talk, the skateboarding, the roller skates, the blade skates, they just copy America. They're far better off having their own identity and leaving themselves alone. Why copy America? That's got nothing that we can't handle. Only a poxy hole anyway, isn't it? Be honest.
Is how you bring up the child. You know, what value are you showing them? Teach them about their own culture. It's important, their own culture. All these great black inspirators you need to know about so that they can go forward. Obviously, you need to know about the past to take you to another level. But that's a main factor.
We need to have our heads screwed on and tell ourselves, yes, we can do it. We can. There's no such thing as can't.
Too many people go through life with the words if, but, shoulds and maybes. Or they live a life and the big defining words for them is if only I'd done that. And so it's mainly an issue of regret. And sometimes when we use the words if only, we tend to allow ourselves to stay in a place of being the victim instead of being the victor. And if only also too could cause us just sit on our hands. But if we make some definite objective choices, we can make a difference. And these choices will prevent us from sleepwalking and jaywalking and drifting through life as if life is just an open space and a free fall. If only could also now be changed to motivate us. And instead of saying if only, we can say, well, if only I can do this, and then take the risk, because all of life is risk. And we don't need to hide behind the excuses or the sense of escape. If only I had what, if only I had that. I think we have to remember the words of a famous man, I think it was John F. Kennedy, says the walk of 1,000 miles begins with one step. And basically what I'm saying is that there is one step we all can take, whether it's to begin to pray, whether it's begin to seek to befriend some young people, whether it's begin to ask the question, how can I provide a safe environment? How can I contribute towards some kind of opportunities for play, opportunities for study, opportunities for mentoring? One step, that's all I think is necessary. And if all of us who are concerned and who are troubled by what's going on would just take the first step, then it will be many steps, and together we can make a difference. For some people it will mean you can't give time, but you can give money. You could give advice, you could give counsel, you could give your material possessions, whatever. The issue is, don't just sit and say if only, or I should have, or maybe. We can make a difference. Let's make the first step. And the first step could lead to many other steps. Yes.